A US F-35C stealth fighter has shot down an Iranian Shahed 139 drone that was aggressively closing in on the USS Abraham Lincoln carrier strike group, roughly 500 miles off Iran's southern coastline in the Arabian Sea. According to US Central Command, the American aircraft carrier was transiting international waters when the Iranian drone began maneuvering toward the ship, with unclear and potentially hostile intent. Despite multiple de-escalatory actions taken by US forces, the unmanned aircraft continued its approach. Captain Tim Hawkins, a CENTCOM spokesperson, stated that the incident highlights Iran's continued efforts to probe US naval defenses. He emphasized that the drone ignored warnings and maintained an aggressive flight profile, forcing American forces to act in self-defense. Before we break down why Iran sent this drone toward the Abraham Lincoln and what it signals about what may come next, make sure you subscribe to Daily Military Talks. We bring you the analysis others won't. US forces ultimately destroyed the Iranian drone, preventing any damage or injuries. The Abraham Lincoln is currently embarked with F-35C Lightning II fighters from Marine Fighter Attack Squadron 5 MFA 314, alongside other carrier air wing assets. The Shahed 139 drone, which visually resembles the US MQ-1 Predator, is capable of surveillance and strike missions. Analysts believe it can carry up to 4 precision-guided munitions, making it a serious threat if employed in coordinated attacks. This raises a critical question. What does this encounter reveal about the vulnerability of US aircraft carriers to Iranian drone swarms? The Shahed 139 is a medium-altitude, long-endurance unmanned aerial vehicle developed by Iran. With its rear-mounted pusher propeller and straight-wing design, it is optimized for extended reconnaissance missions and potential strike operations. Aerospace experts describe it as one of Iran's most advanced drone platforms to date. What remains unknown is the exact weapon used by the F-35C to eliminate the threat. The carrier-based stealth fighter can be armed with AIM-9X sidewinders, AIM-120 AMR, AAMS, and a 25mm gun system, giving pilots multiple options to neutralize airborne targets. F-35Cs have already been used in counter-drone operations in the region, including engagements against Iranian-backed militant drones launched from Yemen. Marine pilots operating from US carriers have real combat experience intercepting these threats. But this incident didn't happen in isolation. Just hours after the drone was shot down, Iranian forces escalated tensions again, this time in the Strait of Hormuz. Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps fast attack boats, supported by a Mohajer drone, harassed a US-flagged crude oil tanker, the MV Stena Imperative, threatening to board and seize the vessel. CENTCOM confirmed that the guided missile destroyer USS McFall immediately intervened, escorting the merchant ship and restoring the situation. The tanker is now proceeding safely. Military analysts believe these incidents reveal a coordinated Iranian strategy. Drone reconnaissance paired with maritime harassment, designed to test American response times and defensive protocols. Iranian state-linked media later claimed the downed aircraft was a Shahed 129 conducting a routine reconnaissance mission in international airspace. However, the report also admitted that the drone had successfully transmitted imagery back to Iranian command centers before communication was lost. That revelation is key. According to defense officials, Iran likely gathered valuable intelligence on the Abraham Lincoln's defensive posture before the drone was destroyed. This data could be used to plan future saturation attacks involving drones, missiles, and fast attack craft. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed the shoot-down, stating the drone was acting aggressively toward USS Abraham Lincoln, CVN-72. While reaffirming President Trump's commitment to diplomacy, she stressed that U.S. forces will defend themselves when threatened. The timing is no coincidence. These provocations occurred just days before scheduled diplomatic talks between U.S. and Iranian officials in Istanbul. At the same time, the United States has surged military assets into the region, including multiple guided missile destroyers and a full carrier air wing with F/A-18 Super Hornets, F-35CS, and EA-18G Growler electronic warfare aircraft. Pentagon planners are increasingly concerned about the threat posed by coordinated Iranian drone and fast boat attacks, tactics already used by Iranian-backed forces in the Red Sea against US and allied vessels. The message from CENTCOM is clear. Continued Iranian harassment in international airspace and waters will not be tolerated. Experts warn that Iran's reconnaissance mission may have already achieved its primary objective, forcing a defensive response and collecting critical data on US carrier group operations. Now, as regional powers assess the fallout and diplomatic talks hang in the balance, one question dominates military circles. Was this just a warning, or the opening move in a much larger confrontation? The coming days may decide whether diplomacy prevails, or whether the next encounter sparks a wider conflict. Stay tuned. What Pentagon planners fear most is not a single drone, but what comes after it. Iran has now forced a real-world defensive engagement against a US aircraft carrier and walked away with valuable intelligence. This was not a mistake, and it was not a random patrol. It was a deliberate test of American red lines, radar response times, fighter launch procedures, and layered air defenses. Tehran now knows how close it can get before Washington pulls the trigger. And that knowledge alone shifts the balance of deterrence in the region. And here's the reality no one wants to say out loud. The next Iranian drone may not be alone. It may arrive with dozens more, backed by fast attack boats, cruise missiles, and ballistic launches timed to overwhelm Aegis defenses. If that moment comes, there will be no warnings, no de-escalation, and no second chances. The shoot-down near the USS Abraham Lincoln may be remembered not as an isolated incident, but as the opening shot in the most dangerous naval confrontation of the modern era.